Hello, welcome. And we're going to do the Playful Pumpkin Patch table runner. This is paper piecing, just the pumpkin is paper pieced. So the rest of the pattern is a regular quilt pattern. We aren't going to go into in-depth quilting lessons in the videos or in this video or in the pattern itself. It's just going to be kind of quick. It's not hard. And I hope the video helps. I'm not an expert at paper piecing. Jess and I have done some, not a whole lot, but she put this pattern together. It's quite cute. I hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you in the forum. If you have any trouble getting into the site at any time, please email me. We are doing some things to keep the site faster and optimized, so to speak. So if you have any trouble, just call or text me. You could call if you could find my phone number, but it's not in there. So we'll see you in the forum. As I said, this is just going to be a quick tutorial, hopefully quick, I don't know, on paper piecing. And you want to cut out the pattern pieces all ahead. And we're going to start with the, let me show you, hold on, let's see here. So here's one put together, okay? And we're going to start with this piece, and we're going to start exactly as the numbers are, A1, A2, A3, A4. So the goal is not to waste fabric, but with paper piecing, there's going to be some waste. So what we want to do is start with, we're going to start covering A2, okay? And in my color combination, A2 is my light orange. Okay, so wrong sides together. My my fabric, I was smart about it, about the pumpkins. There is no right or wrong side with these solids, so I'm good either way. But you want to have the wrong side of the fabric. So if it did have a pattern on it, and do I have anything that has a pattern right now? I'm not sure I do. Okay, let's look at this. So you would want, of course, the wrong side of your pattern, your fabric, to be on your piece, okay? So that's how you start. And what we're gonna do is make sure that you have enough room all the way around on that piece to have some extra hanging over. This way it does not, this way that has more. So I have plenty of room here, 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 and here. Okay, so wrong sides together. Then you're going to take the next piece, and we're going to be sewing this line between A1 and A2. I'm going to start with putting A2, and then I'm going to attach A1. Okay, in my pattern, this is how you do it. Okay, so now right sides together. So here's the wrong, and here's the right. And I want to make sure when I'm doing this that when I flip up that back piece, because this is going to show the right side of your pumpkin, when I flip up that back piece after I sew that line, that piece of fabric is going to be able to cover that whole section. Okay, with this, I'm not going to sew show the sewing part of it. There are plenty of videos on my site right now on just basic quilting. If you need help though, just post in the forum. So that's the way we're going to do it. So what we're going to do right now is, I'm good. I feel like, I know that that pattern part is going to be covered with my back fabric. Okay. And I'm going to go to the machine. I'm going to make sure I back stitch right at the little corners there, but I'm also going to sew straight across. I'm going to sew right off that paper, and you're going to do that with every single seam. So once you get your two pieces set up, and remember, you want to make sure this one isn't a big deal right now because it's just going to stay there. That's your first piece, and it's wrong sides together. So basically when you turn it over, the only piece I'm flipping up is going to be this part, and you're going to see your right side of your pumpkin, right? I hope I'm explaining this well. So let's go to the machine, and we'll be right back. We're going to sew this line, and I have sewn just all the way across, like I said. from one side to the other. You want to change your stitch length to 1 or 1.5. I use 1.5. It's fine, and that's going to help keep those stitches really tight together so your paper doesn't rip while you're handling it and putting more pattern pieces on it. So I have learned that the first thing I want to do is right after I take it off the machine, right after I sew my line, I want to go right to the iron, and I'm going to iron the piece over that needed to cover the piece that I was trying to cover. Okay, so if I do it any other way, I messed it up and I had to pick out stitches or throw it right in the trash. So we don't want to do that. So go right to the iron, flip it over, and iron it. And you want to be careful because you want to make sure all your fabric is ironed, and use starch. I use Best Press, and that keeps it nice and stiff. Now we want to do A3. Okay, so what we can do is we can trim a little bit first, and we will get these seams a little bit better as we go along, but we can, just as long as you don't trim off any part of this, we can trim some of this off by just folding it and giving it, and I'm not even going to use my, a little bit of a cut. Whoops. Okay, let's fix that just a little bit. Okay, you can use a ruler if you want to and make it nice and straight, but we'll straighten it up after we sew the next piece on. Just do some little trimming here and we'll straighten it out, of course. So next piece is going to be right sides together, and again, you want to make sure that your piece is going to be completely covered. If you want to pin and make sure that that piece is going to cover, do you see? And remember, this is right sides together when you're putting your fabric down, okay? Right sides together. Then you can tell, yes, it's definitely going to cover every little part. Not a whole lot left right there, but we're safe. We have just sewn the lines between A2 and A3, just like that. And now we can trim a little bit of this. So we're going to make that a little bit nicer looking, and you can just fold back the paper, line it up. Don't cut your paper behind it. Make sure to fold that paper back a little bit neater, a neater piece there. Okay, now A4, we're going to do the little corner, and again, right sides together. Get a piece that you know is going to be big enough. And remember that you are flipping up when you're lining these up. And I'm not going to trim it yet around the sides, and then you're just going to flip that up. And that's going to be another corner. We just went ahead and sewed over the A4 between A3 and A4 with our little corner piece, and I went ahead and I trimmed it. And always trim when you're trimming. Don't trim from the front. Sometimes I was noticing that it seemed easy to flip it like this and think that I can just cut along. Don't do that, because you might cut over the seam line. And just trim off on the side. Yeah, so bend the corners back. Go ahead and trim your seams like we just did. Don't cut your don't cut the corner of the pumpkin off, just cut the underneath seam. Okay, 1/4 of an inch off, just like that. Yep. So just like that, just to keep everything neat on the inside. Okay, now we're gonna finish this just the same way. So you have this one, we're gonna go to, we did A4, now let's do A5, and A5 is going to be my lighter. Get your next piece and line it up. Of course, mine's gonna be a lighter. Also, before you put your piece on, you can trim. Okay, so we talked about trimming those seams up. So before you do A3 to A5, before you sew that middle seam there, you can go ahead and pull that back. Make sure that you don't cut into this one, and just cut that off. You can probably cut a little bit more off than that. Yeah, you just don't want to take any of the one underneath off. So just get that seam trimmed before you do your next color on the other side of the pumpkin. Okay, and we just did the second half of that pumpkin, A5, completely covered. So now you can trim, and we're gonna do the A7, which on mine is gonna be a darker piece now. And I wanna trim that first, so I can just, let me pull this back a little bit and just kind of rough trim it if you want. Just don't cut your A. I'm just gonna go back. Now we're gonna sew the A7, and then we will do, actually we should do A6 first. Sorry, boy, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so, and again, you can trim that just a little bit. I'd be careful with this because you can get into that A5 kind of too easy, if you ask me. So go ahead and get your A6 in place, right sides together, just like that. Take it over, sew that. Look at that, that's coming along pretty nice. We just have the two pieces, and I think you know what to do. I want to show you how to do this top piece. We're going to start in the middle the same way that it's numbered instead of starting at the end. So you do want to follow the numbers. So that's B1 and B2. And then remember, wrong sides together. So wrong side of fabric, wrong side of paper together first. That's your first square. And probably going to find a little bit of a bigger piece. I don't know. Okay. And then right sides together for that back piece, okay? So B2, even though it's B1 and B2 is their first one to the back to back, and then right sides together. It's okay to go off the paper here, but don't go into this block when you're sewing into it. You just want to stop right there and then back stitch, you know, twice. That's fine. Go ahead and go to the sewing machine, sew that up, and then take it to the ironing board, iron it. Just like that. You can cut off the extra. Okay, so cut off your extra. So I'm gonna at least just do a couple here so you can see how that's put together. And this is really simple. I mean, once you get the hang of it, it goes pretty quick. And there you go. Now we'll do B3. So again, you just wanna make sure that your piece is going to cover that B3. Right sides together. Take it to the sewing machine and give it a sew. Okay, so how's it looking? So now time to do right sides together. Take it over to the machine, and then we'll get to the next part. I'm gonna go ahead and let you do the whole thing, and then we'll come back and we'll have the pumpkin kind of put together. Okay. Here we are, isn't that cute? So you take the paper out very carefully after you finish, and then we're going to sew the top to the pumpkin, a 1/4 of an inch seam. There are a few things that I did. I cut off my point, but we're good because when you put your border on, we'll just use this one. When you put that border on, it's gonna look pretty. That one doesn't look pretty, but yeah, it's gonna be hidden under the seam. And then down here, I must have put that together in the wrong order. So I'm not an expert at paper piecing, but it's all good because again, it's going to hide under the border, under the seam. So everything's gonna get tucked in. It's gonna be good. So if you mess up like that, you know, we're not perfect, and that's the way it is. Anyway, it was fun to put this together. I hope you have fun, and I'll just see you on the forum if you have any questions. I'm sure we're all going to be trying to figure things out and talking back and forth, and I hope you enjoy the project.